let's bring our friend Tone in for the segment.
Big Sales, how we doing, sir?
See, maybe now you know a little more where I'm coming from.
Absolutely.
Where, like, you know what, Tone? You play so great. You play so great in a loss. And then you sit there and you go, yeah, but you can't give yourself credit for it. You can't. Tone, that maybe makes me jaded. And that's why some people go like this. Well, Jalen outplayed Mahomes. I'm like, dude, you lost. And I think that's what's aggravating people. Because I think there's a portion of sports fans, Tone, that looks at a player's performance and they dissect it. And they don't look at what you're doing there. You're in the game to win. You're not in the game to put up big numbers.
You know what that is?
This is going to go to the conversation that I want to get to you with, but this is why the conversation with the MVP, with Hurts. Jalen's got numbers that go along the line of everyone else. I wrote them out here. He's on pace for 41, 68, 28, 15, 94, 9, 67, 6, 638 rushing, 15 touchdowns. I think he'll get rushing. So you could have a total of potentially like
40 touchdowns, something
40
like that.
touchdowns, which would be insane. Plus the record, plus who you beat. I think the numbers aren't going to be enough. I think he loses the 49ers or the Dak game. I think that's going to drop him back in many people's eyes because they don't revere Hurts. And plus, again, the numbers are not over the top.
Which one do you think will do more for his MVP case, San Fran or Cowboys? I say 49ers because he already beat the Cowboys. So if he beats the 49ers and he splits with the Cowboys, I think that's par for the course. What do you think?
Who will the media make more of it if Dak beats Jalen Hurts finally and he's the quarterback? Do you understand that this is a crescendo that's being built up here for Hurts? There's two things going on with Jalen. But wait, I'll tell you what, man. The pressure on that guy is gargantuan.
You have to be who he is to be able to carry that pressure. You got to be who he is.
He is it, and he's handling it. That's why he's got a calm demeanor. He reminds you know what he is? He's like Tony Dungy in a way in how he handles himself. But this is a crescendo. It started Dak 1. Then it started going up. Then it starts going up. Now all of a sudden he beats Mahomes. Dude, you beat Mahomes and Allen in consecutive weeks. That is insanity. But it also leads to Purdy and Dak because the majority of the media people look at those two guys along with Lamar. They put them in there. I think Jalen has to do more than those guys to win that award.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you because of, again, we always, when it comes to Jalen Hurts, we always talk about the distance traveled and the perception surrounding him, his career, and how he got to the NFL and how he got the job in Philly. A lot of people still to this day can't necessarily find a way to make sense of how he does what he does. They can't make sense of how he wins these games. And if they're watching the games, truly watching the games, they'll understand it. But they don't want to understand it. They don't want to make sense of it. They would much rather hold on to their priors and look at Jalen Hurts as somebody who's just riding the coattails of the roster, or he's someone who's just riding the wave. And the fact of the matter is, Jalen Hurts has the pulse of this Philadelphia Eagles team. And if he continues on pace with what he's doing, like you said, his numbers, when you really look at his numbers in a nutshell, they're not necessarily remarkable, but it's the numbers coupled with the winning, coupled with who he's beaten, right? And this season, when you really look at the numbers, no one is jumping off the page. No one has these gargantuan or astronomical numbers right now in the MVP race. Everyone is pretty much in the 17, 18, 19, 20 touchdown range as far as passing. Everyone is on pace for about 42.
That's why those numbers aren't going to get them over the top.
The numbers. See, what's so funny? The numbers can get someone else over the top.
Isn't that funny?
But it won't get him over the top because of who he is, who he plays for,
where he came from,
where he came from as far as his career, the whole college thing, and people,
second rounder thing.
Second rounder. And here's the thing, right? You got people
No,
who
they're
say,
still waiting for Purdy to turn into a pumpkin.
Right, still. And listen, but you also have some people who are already willing to jump off of the cliff for Brock Purdy. But listen to this, right? People forget Jalen Hurts, he didn't just leave Alabama. He stayed there for an additional year, graduated, got his bachelor's. So he came and he stayed for 4 years, got his bachelor's. He went there and left with something. He's not going to stay there for another year. He doesn't have to. He graduated. So then he transfers to Oklahoma so he can just focus strictly on football. And that's what he did. That's how he got drafted in the second round. Then he goes back to Oklahoma while he's competing for a Super Bowl appearance in 2022. A month or two later, he graduates from Oklahoma with his master's. So meanwhile, while he's fighting for NFC supremacy in 2022, and he's trying to prove to the doubters that he's legit, and he's making it to Super Bowl, and he goes toe-to-toe with one of the GOATs. And yeah, he lost the game, but he played pretty well, but he lost. But in the vacuum, I think he played a great game in a nutshell, if you look at his game in the vacuum. But overall, my point is he went through all these ups and downs and trying to further himself in his career. Meanwhile, got his master's. So my thing is, this guy has an ability to compartmentalize and focus beyond belief and not allow the outside circumstances to dictate what's going on outside of that field. His ability to weigh and balance all the different scales in his life is why he wins. That guy's ability to just manage and stay calm, cool, collected, and poised, no matter the circumstances, is something that can't be replicated. And they hate it. We spoke about it yesterday. They can't measure it. They can't put a number on it. They can't put a stat on it, and it kills them to their core. So you know what they're going to do? They're going to find a way to say, you know what? This guy. Why did this guy lose the game? Instead of talking about why did Hurts win the game? They're so quick to say, oh damn, why did Allen lose? Why did Mahomes lose? Why did Dak lose? Why did Tua lose? Instead of talking about, damn, how did Jalen and those guys win? This is what Jalen did. They don't want to do that though. It's not sexy enough for them.
They don't want MVP Hurts. Hurts beats 49ers and loses to Dallas second. Agreed. And here's what I'm saying. Rocksteady just made a point here. Thank you, Warrior. Rocksteady just made a point here. He goes, the Eagles will be for the third week in a row, they'll be the game of the week. No, you're not. But in reality, you are.
They'll be underdogs for 3 straight weeks.
Cowboys had 44 million viewers for a shitty Commander game.
That's insane.
It's not true. It is in reality. In reality, it is the third best. It is 3 weeks of great football. But you see, you have people changing narratives in the media. Mm-hmm. The media, like in the news, they change narratives, Tone. You would think the Dallas Cowboys are totally in the hunt for the Super Bowl. They're not. They're not. Dak is not an MVP candidate. Who's Dak beaten this year?
Bryce Young.
Bryce Young, who just got his coach fired.
Bryce Young,
unfairly to him.
He just got his library card. Like, you know what I mean? Like Bryce Young.
He's probably not even old enough to drink in bars.
You see what I mean?
I mean,
who else did they beat? Let's really go through it, right? They beat Brock. They beat what's his name? They beat Daniel Jones. They beat Tony DeVito. You know what I mean? They beat a bunch of accountants and a bunch of pencil pushers. They beat Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi. You know what I mean? They beat Zach Wilson. You know what I mean? It's like what are we doing here, man?
Let me do this exercise with you here. I want to match up the team here.
Yeah.
And you know what I said too about the quarterbacks? I'm going to start on the offensive side.
Okay.
I said this is why Jalen Hurts is being developed better in Philly than Brock Purdy is in San Francisco. That offense in San Francisco is Kyle Shanahan. It's not Brock Purdy. In Philadelphia, it's Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts, that's his offense. Brock Purdy is a direct result of Kyle Shanahan's offense, the same way that Jimmy Garoppolo was. And when Garoppolo was asked to go somewhere else and win, like Las Vegas, he couldn't. There's more of a sandbox and guardrails on Purdy than Hurts. So when you have autonomy and freedom, you're more apt to grow because of mistakes you make.
Mm.
And when I see Purdy not being able to win ball games, if all the components, like, let me say this, if Christian McCaffrey gets hurt in that game Sunday, that thing's over. That thing's over, because I think he's the fuel in the engine that runs that offense.
He took
I
them over
think
the
it's
top.
him.
He took them over the top. Let's be honest. Like,
He totally took him over the top.
adding Christian
They didn't
McCaffrey
lose
to
the
that
game when he
roster,
got there.
he's taken their offensive attack to a whole nother level. That's why Howie Roseman was trying so hard to get Christian McCaffrey. Can you imagine if he got him?
Oh,
can you
good
imagine
night.
if he got him?
But that's why they went with the 2.0 version with Swift, because
Exactly.
Swift gives them that dynamic.
Exactly. It's the closest thing you're
And
going to
that's
get.
what he wanted for Hurts.
Yep, it's the closest thing you're going to get to it. I mean,
Yeah.
Anybody else in the NFL that plays that way, Travis Etienne, you know what I mean? Tony Pollard, but
Alvin Kamara.
You know, there's not many guys.
Remember, he tried to make a play for Kamara.
He tried. Yeah, even Kareem Hunt plays that way a little bit, you know, but
Yep.
he runs with a little bit more power. But
that's right. When he was in Kansas City early on, he was 17% of that offensive output before he got all that other BS stuff going on.
Right,
but he was a major point in developing of Patrick Mahomes. He sure was.
Yeah, can you imagine if he never would have went through what he went through? If he would have stayed on that roster for a couple more years?
He would have put up Alvin Kamara numbers. Like,
that team would have been unstoppable.
1,000 yards rushing, 10. You know, it just shows you too the speed bumps that can get in the way sometimes of one's career here. So I don't really think it's close, Brock Purdy versus Hurts. So I don't think that there's a debate there, and I don't think you're going to debate that either, right?
No, I mean, let's be honest. If you put Brock Purdy in that situation against the Bills the other day, I mean, he folds like a lawn chair, man.
I don't believe he wins
at all.
McCaffrey versus Swift.
McCaffrey, man, it's not even a question. McCaffrey's just a, you know, he's
I don't
a
think
freak
it's
of
that wide a gap, though.
I don't know. When I look at McCaffrey play, it just looks like it's a different speed a little bit. It just looks, it just looks. You know what I mean? You ever look at a guy, it's like, yeah, their skill sets.
He's a better runner in between the tackles.
Their skill sets are the same, but this guy just looks like he's running at a different speed.
Yep.
But yeah, I'll take McCaffrey in that regard. I love Swift, by the way. Don't get it twisted, Eagles fans. I love Swift, but McCaffrey's just a freak.
You think Swift comes back next year?
No, because
too many suitors.
He'll have too many suitors. He's having a career year thus far. See, here's the thing, right? Playing behind the Eagles offensive line puts you in position for a huge contract. If Miles Sanders can get paid, DeAndre Swift might have a chance to get paid from somewhere. So we have to go with the trends, right? Howie Roseman is not known for paying running backs. He'll bring you in. First of all, the only reason Miles Sanders was here as long as he was because he got drafted here. That's it. If Miles Sanders was a free agent and did what he did last year, he would have been gone just like he was
2 years ago.
Exactly. So I mean, we got to put it in perspective. Swift is a free agent. He's coming off of a rookie deal, so he's looking to get paid. As much as Swift loves playing in Philly for the hometown, he's trying to buy his dad a new fitness gym. You know what I mean? So I don't think Swift is going to be here next year. So sorry, Eagles fans, this is where I'm at.
Okay. I was going to kind of wait until towards the end of the show, but so Shaq Leonard had a conversation with Frank Reich, and he asked him what the environment was like in Philadelphia. And he told him, you got to remember, Shaq Leonard played when Shane and also when Nick Sirianni were there.
Right. Frank did coach him. That's right. That's a good pull by you. He definitely did coach him.
And so all those guys were in the building.
Yeah.
So they know Shaq Leonard. And he supposedly, according to Stephen Jones, they made a pitch and he left Dallas about an hour ago.
If he walked out the door without a contract sign, he's not going there. They shouldn't let him walk out the door. He's visiting Philadelphia
I think either Wednesday night or Thursday morning.
He'll be signed by Thursday afternoon. He'll be signed by Thursday afternoon. And he'll get about maybe 30% of the snaps on Sunday.
Oh, wait. You're going to think they're going to throw him in there like that?
Yep. Just watch. It may not be 30%. It may be 20%, but watch. He signed him Thursday afternoon. He plays about 15, 20 snaps.
He called Frank and asked him what the environment was like. And he goes,
listen, if he's calling him, he's already signed. If he's calling Frank, he already knows where he wants to go. He just needs confirmation. Nick's there. Frank was there. Shane was there. Frank coached him in
Shane probably didn't want to cut him.
Of course he did. And it wasn't even his call. But I bet you it wasn't even his call. It was
probably Chris Ballard and the owner.
Exactly. It wasn't even his call. But guess what? He'll be signed by Thursday afternoon. I'm calling it. I have no sources, by the way. No sources.
He left Dallas about an hour ago.
If you like I said, he walked out that door without a contract, he's not going there.
I got to find out who his agent is.
I can tell you right now. Give me 1 second.
Tell me who his agent is, and if I know him, I'll text him. Because if it's Drew Rosenhaus, or if it's Jimmy Sexton, or if it's CAA.
All right, so he signed to first round management. His agents are Malachi Kawhi and Ethan Locke.
Ethan Locke. I know Ethan very well. Okay. I'll text Ethan and ask him. You know what's great about the NFL Players Association website? You can go on and get the cell phone numbers of all the agents.
Word?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. That is hilarious.
All the agents, you get their cell phone numbers. That's how I got Nicole Lynn's number.
That is hilarious.
I text her and I go, I totally text her after the Jets sign. What was the kid's name? Quentin Williams?
Quentin Williams, yeah.
When she signed him, I go, I've never seen more. So you signed two guys for $500 million, and I've never heard a word about anything. And it was the quietest $500 million in contract signings. She goes, wouldn't you want that? I go, absolutely. I don't want a lot of noise like Lamar Jackson around me. I don't want that noise, man. I want that thing to go smooth and nice.
Listen, she doesn't talk much, right? But in that game, on Sunday after Jalen Hurts got it in for the game winner, she tweeted immediately. She tweeted immediately, worth every penny. Worth every penny.
By the way, get this though, man. Now I don't know if she has a 10% normal. I don't know if that, but that's $5 million. Hey, that's $25 million, dog, that she gets on that. I mean, how you feeling? Hey, think about right? That deal was $250 million, right? Wasn't it something like that too?
So, hey, listen, 250, 260, who's counting?
Hey, okay, so check it out. She gets 10% of that. It's $26 million. Eagles waive Josiah Scott.
There's someone
they're making a roster move.
They're making space.
They're making space.
They're making space.
Shaq Leonard's coming to Philadelphia.
I'm telling you, man.
I'm with you now.
By Thursday afternoon.
Did they put Quez on their active roster?
Yeah. He only got like 8 or 9
Don't
snaps.
sound so disappointed.
Listen, I'm telling you, man, that catch, Olamido.
You like Zacchaeus now more,
bro. I like Zacchaeus before he even played a snap. Because if you watch his highlights, if you watch his highlights in Atlanta,
he only got 2 plays. Don't worry about it.
Listen, Olamide catches that ball. Quez, I can't even depend on him to catch a cold.
They're making space.
They're making space.
So get this. So I go to Frank. I go, hey. He goes, look, he's heartbroken over it. I said, if the Eagles reached out to you, he goes, I talked to Nick yesterday. And it was more about consoling and, you all right? Is everything cool? It wasn't about a job offer or anything, but
right.
Nick was the first one to reach out to him. And so then Nick, then Mike McCoy, and then Doug reached out to him too. So they all, that whole circle of those guys. I'm sure Shane probably did too. They all reached out.
Of course.
So supposedly,
I wouldn't be surprised if Gannon did. He was on that Colts staff too. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yep. And so Nick goes, supposedly, I go like this. I go, so what's going on? He goes, and he invited me up for the 49er game. And I was like, nah, I said, Frank, you should come up. He goes, so what are you saying? I'm like, I'm saying you're going to be the new special assistant by the Cowboy Week in Philadelphia. And he's like, my wife wants me to, and I go, yeah, well, I would too. You're getting a boatload of David Tepper money. Hey, Frank, everyone's feeling bad for you, but I don't know about you, man. Getting $50 million out the door. I'm sorry, man, but I ain't feeling that hard for you.
I ain't feeling that bad for you.
Hey, I go like this. I don't know, Frank, but you know what, dude? It sucks. I get it. But man, I'll tell you what would make me feel a lot better is if I saw a deposit of $50 million in my bank and I'd be like, hey, shit, man, I got fired. And your wife goes, how's your bank account now? I mean, I don't know. I'm feeling
50 million in the bank, 50 million in the bank, and you got another job waiting on you.
Yeah, and you got an organization. By the way, you could probably go to Jacksonville if you wanted to.
Of course he could.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I don't know, because Doug loves to be the quartermaster of his own ship. And he has Press Taylor as his OC. He was trying to get Press Taylor to be the OC in Philly. That's why he got let go, because he wanted Press Taylor to be his OC. The Eagles were like, look, we like Press, but hell no.
So you think he likes him more than Frank Reich, who won him a Super Bowl?
I think Frank. No, I hear where you're going, but I think Frank has more of an affinity for Nick. Think about, it's like your golden child. You taught him everything you know. You know what I mean? Whereas though Doug, it may look like you're going back to you're going back to. I don't know. For me, it'll look like. Remember, people question, was it Doug's offense or Frank's offense, right? People questioned that. People knew it was Frank's.
It's Frank's offense.
But Doug don't want that in the building. Remember, he put Press as his OC. You know what I mean? That's his golden child. You know what I mean? I think Frank would be more likely to go back to Philly with Nick rather than be back under Doug. And I don't think Doug would even let him in the building. I'm sure they're cool, by the way. I'm not saying they don't have a good relationship.
Oh, you're saying you're right. There's a part of me that goes like this. See, Frank doesn't have a gigantic ego. Doug does. And
bingo.
Nick has an ego, and Frank really doesn't. And I think the personalities would mesh better in Philly than in Jacksonville. And if I'm not speaking for you, but I think that's where you're going.
That's basically what you're right. That's actually what I'm saying.
Personalities fit better in Philly than in Jacksonville.
And also, we know how Nick Sirianni is. We know how Nick Sirianni is. He's very brash, so on and so forth. He's
a cheerleader.
He's pretty steadfast in how he feels all the time, an emotional guy. Frank strikes me as that kind of mentor that, if he nudges him like, hey, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
Nick would be like, okay, I trust you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, he would, because they've worked together like that.
Yeah.
And I think Nick would trust.
And Frank is proud of him.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So
absolutely. Those, remember something, Mike McCoy and all them guys that were all together in San Diego at one time, those guys are all thick as thieves together, man. I mean, see, when you're an assistant, you're a gypsy. I mean, if you look at it, I think Frank Reich has been an assistant coach or a receiver coach or a position coach, 14 different stops. And so you getting the opportunity to become a head coach. And dude, look at the two shitty owners he worked with. He worked with Irsay and Tepper.
Right.
I mean, what are those?
Impatient. They're two of the most impatient owners in football.
RTF goes, how's Big Sills connected to Frank? Frank's been on the show 4 times.
Yeah, he's been on the show.
Thank you, Big Dickin. Maryland. That's right. He was a teammate of mine.
Yeah.
He was a teammate of mine my freshman year when I was at Maryland. And we've been friends ever since. We've been friends probably 1983 is. That's like 40 some years. I've been friends with Frank Reich.
Yeah, that's 40 years on the nose.
40 years. We've been friends 40 years. I was 19 years old when I met him.
But yeah, Frank's been on the show quite a few times, and he's always a great listen. Always.
He was and I talked to him a lot. And I go like this. I did ask him, I go, you think you'll coach a little bit this year? He goes, maybe as an advisor. And I said, listen here. I want you to tell me something here. And I want you to give me something here. Don't tell anybody else, man. You better not. If you tell someone else, I'm gonna start ratting you out, man. Okay.
Listen to this though, really quickly. The funny thing about the situation with Frank is the word around town is, and you know, our personal opinions aside, the word around town is Brian Johnson is one of the leading candidates to get one of these new head coaching jobs that's going to be available, right? So that opens it wide open for Frank. He comes on as an advisory role, as an assistant, and then he just slides right in as the OC, real smooth. Like, what do you like? I think that's more likely to happen.
Okay. So yes, I think that that's more likely to happen.
I think that
Okay.
happens.
Absolutely.